through a psychedelic therapy in Mexico that really rewired my brain and fixed all my traumatic brain
Wow.
injuries, PTSD, all my traumas.
You're listening to the Absolutely Cosmic Podcast.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Absolutely Cosmic Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything self-improvement from the nerdy perspective. I'm your host, Joshua Salgado, and today I'd like to introduce Navy veteran, owner of Berserker Built, and artist, Tim DeMeo. How are you today?
What's going on, Josh? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I was doing a little research. I always try to do a little reconnaissance about my guests and stuff. And I read that you, in some of your posts, that you visited over 38 different countries during your military stint. That's crazy. That's insane.
That's military, and then when I got out, did some overseas contracting. So a lot of that was after the military.
Hell yeah. What was that like? Because I got a deployment, and that changed my perspective on how I see the world. And I just went to maybe a handful of countries, over in the Horn of Africa. I can only imagine seeing 38 different countries, multiple continents. What did that do for your mindset and your perspective of the world?
Yeah, Horn of Africa is crazy. That's a crazy place over there. I've spent a lot of time over there, but man, I'm super thankful, super lucky and fortunate that I did get to travel and see the world. Saw a lot of great things, saw a lot of terrible things, but my first, obviously living in America, my first trip to another country was Canada, but that's not overseas. That's just North America, so my first deployment was in Korea. So that's the first time in Asia, and I'm allergic to shellfish and a bunch of seafood, so that was terrible. So that was my first, oh shit, culture's different, man, and got to figure things out. And throughout my travels, I've learned to, change my palate up a little bit and be a little more adventurous. Obviously, I can't have shellfish or I'll die, but it was cool. Learned a lot about different cultures, religion, just their ethics and how they operate, and it's been pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening, how different people, we're all humans, but how different everyone just lives, and the culture. Like you said, religion, food, everything is just, it can be so different. It's really interesting to see how we're the same, but we have such different lifestyles, and different architecture, infrastructure.
Yeah, and the one commonality overseas, everyone overseas, mostly. Okay, when I say everyone, a good portion of people overseas, they want to be living in America so bad. Bad, but so many of us take it for granted here, and a lot of people want to be back overseas and whatnot. So it's just interesting. They're watching, because I lived in Greece for a while, in Athens, Greece, and my tattoo artist was from there. Awesome. And all that. I spent a lot of time with him and hanging out with him and his friends, and all they did was watch 1990s American movies like Die Hard, The Goonies, stuff like that. That's how they learned English, and that's what they think. They would wear Michael Jordan, everything just like the kids do here. It's just funny.
It's crazy. It's crazy, especially I'm going back to school now, and I'm 24, but a lot of the kids are kids, but they're 18, and they're super young, only ever obviously stayed in the States, and you'll hear them complain and stuff, and I'm it's not that bad, or they'll be oh, this is terrible, and it's other people in the world don't have it so great all the time, and we should be grateful for even the luxury stuff that we get.
It's funny you say that. I'm going back to school starting the fall semester, and I'm 34 now, so it's oh geez, I'm gonna be that old dude, I guess. And it'll be I'll definitely have to hold my tongue back on some stuff, but it'll be interesting. So
what are you going to school for, and where are you going?
So I'm going. I'm finishing my degree up at Quinnipiac here in Connecticut.
Okay.
I've been going to college since 2007, on and off. Just between deployments, being overseas and whatnot. I do a class here, class there, just to try to stay current. I'm going for intelligence studies. So
okay, cool.
Doing a lot of that stuff in the intelligence side. Yeah, I'm pretty close. I only have like 20 credits left to do. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'll be starting up in the fall, just finishing that off while running Berserker Built and trying to get this off
Hell
the
yeah.
ground.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a perfect segue. So I wanted to ask you, the first question I had is how do you feel that your military service prepared you and, shifted your perspective to where you are now with running, building, being the main artist of Berserker Built?
Man, that's a good question. So Berserker Built, just briefly, I'm a brand new so I create functional art and I use high quality skateboards as my canvas. So most of the customers don't even skate. They just hang them on the wall like I do behind me. Just so I'm not a skateboard company, but people do ride them as well. They're the best skateboards you could ride, honestly. I didn't demeanor when it came to quality. So I've always been an artist before I joined the military. I always did graffiti, painting, ceramics. Like I was just always artsy. And then when I joined the military, I lost it for a while. And I was on a deployment with some Green Beret cats and whatnot, and they were trying to like paint some stuff, like their emblem on the back of this truck and whatnot, just do some stuff. And they saw me and they're like, "Do you know anyone who could do this?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I could do it." And he was like, "Really?" So I kind of started doing like in the field graffiti work, a little bit here and there. And then it just completely went away with the way things changed in my career. Um, so it's weird. Then I went after a whole bunch of stuff that happened to me and getting out and transitioning out. My healing process was art therapy. That's how I coped with a lot of things.
Wow.
So I started with woodworking, CNC engraving, did that, and I really missed just designing and got back to designing, learning the new techniques because shit, people are drawing on iPads now with like like sorcery, man. It's like magical pens and stuff, and like I'm used to like chicken scratch on paper, put it in an old printer scanner, then get it on my my paint on computer. So I'm learning all the new techniques now and really diving into it. So it's fun. It's fun. So my military career, it's helped me overcome a lot. And now I'm being a new business owner. This is all I'm doing. It's my only income. If I don't create and sell, I can't feed my family. You know what I mean? So my career's definitely helped me be able to persevere and push hard and work those late nights just to get stuff done and out the door.
100%. That's phenomenal. I mean, every time you post multiple times a day, but I'm always, whenever I scroll through and I see your art, I'm like, this is phenomenal. And you always have a story to tell about each skateboard. And I'm like, this is like really cool. And some of them are very, I don't know, like metaphorical.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, it's just deep. And you're like, this is a reference to me or someone that I knew or a story or something, or for somebody else. And then actually one of our loadmasters in our unit got a skateboard.
Yeah,
and,
man.
She was really hyped about it. And I sent it to actually your page to another mutual friend of ours who's a skateboarder, and he's a Navy veteran. He's a former submariner down here in Groton. Yeah, so he like skateboards all the time and stuff like that. And I was like, I know a guy that he would definitely like some of his artwork.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I had no idea. So it's funny. So you and I are both in the same veteran entrepreneur class.
Yep.
And Jake, one of the team members of Clark Initiative, he ordered that skateboard for his sister, and that's who got it. I had no idea the correlation, and it's just a small world for sure. And she actually lives down in Maryland, where I just moved from. I just moved back here 4 months ago, and like we were talking, and I'm like, wow, small world, man. Yeah. No, you're right though. Every board has a meaning of some sort. I have a couple boards that really meant a lot to me, and I tried to make the symbols and make the art to relate to other people as well. A lot of like I have just like Marine Corps boards and whatnot, and firefighter board, theme boards, police boards. That way it kind of like, some guy who doesn't skate or whatever, but wants something for their man cave or his office. It's like, that's a piece of what I had going on as a chapter in my life. So and I do a lot of my art is for healing purposes.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you want to get into it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I went through a psychedelic therapy in Mexico that really rewired my brain and fixed all my traumatic brain
Wow.
injuries, PTSD, all my traumas and whatnot. And like, so a lot of what I'm creating is coming from that journey of
Wow.
healing.
That's interesting. Is that so I recently listened to a podcast. I think he's a former Navy SEAL. He has a lot of like Delta Force and former, combat vets. Is that like, and he was talking about the psilocybin
Okay.
type. Is that similar?
So yeah, it's similar. This was
Okay.
an ibogaine therapy, so it's the
Okay.
harshest plant medicine in the world, man.
Wow.
It comes from a root of a tree in Gabon, Africa.
Wow.
So it's crazy, man. So they've been using this for thousands of years. African tribes, they
Mhm.
use it for the boys for their coming of age ceremony when they become men,
Right.
because it really rewires them and helps them focus, and it sets them on their journey of life. And so it's a pretty potent medicine. It's
Yeah.
totally different from
Imagine.
like ayahuasca or mushrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was really harsh, but
Yeah. Wow.
it's pretty incredible stuff, man. It really
Yeah.
is. And just a little background: I've never smoked weed in my life. Still haven't.
Okay.
I never did pot as a kid in high school. Never smoked a cigarette. Nothing. So this was like strictly for healing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what was that like? Like, how did that affect you? What was the process of that treatment? And then afterwards, was it very immediate? Did it take time to kind of
Yeah, man.
reintegrate?
Yeah. So it took a lot for me to go down there.
Yeah.
It's done. It's facilitated in Mexico, down in the
Okay.
Baja Tijuana area,
Okay.
because it is Schedule 1 drugs still here in the
Yeah.
States, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it took a lot for me to go down to do this therapy. I was in and out of NICO, which is like
Mhm.
National Intrepid Center of Excellence. It's like the #1 brain injury institute in North
Okay.
America.
Wow.
So that was at Walter Reed Hospital in Bethesda. So I
Okay.
was doing therapies through there. I was seeing brain specialists all around the country just because my TBIs were affecting me so bad. And all they were doing was really, they would do some therapies and all this stuff. But ultimately they were just shoving pharmaceuticals down my throat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the government does. That's what the VA
Yeah.
does, because who runs the government? It's pharmaceutical companies. We won't
Yeah.
go into
Yeah.
politics or anything like that, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And so these pharmaceuticals were really altering me and changing my perspective on life, changing my mood. Has become an angry, like super freaking angry man.
Yeah.
It was just bad, and it just became enough, and I was willing to do anything. And my wife was really supportive, and she was looking for alternative therapies because she's listened to some podcasts like the Sean Ryan Show. He talks
Yeah.
about all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I finally went down there. It was really medically driven. Like, you have to get vetted before you go. They wean you off certain medications and prescriptions to make sure you're safe for the medicine, because it is so potent and harsh. They don't want anything bad to happen. So you basically fly down to San Diego. You meet up with a group of guys or girls. There are 5 others with me. At one Delta operator, SEAL, recon,
Wow.
an addict, like a drug addict that's been recovering for years. He's been trying all
Wow.
different therapies, and then another overseas contractor. So we drive across the border. We get to this gorgeous house in Mexico. It's in a gated community. First thing we do is go upstairs. We do a piss test. They check our blood to make sure there's nothing in our system that's going to affect and give us a bad reaction to the plant medicine. Then they weigh you. They put an IV stent in you, check your heart rate. You're clear. You're good to go. You do a tour of the house. They talk about the medicine, what the process will be, because it's a long trip. My journey was about 12 to 15 hours long.
Wow.
Yeah, it was harsh, man. It was harsh.
Yeah.
But so it's really medically driven. Really, there's a lot of science behind this. It's sad because it is illegal in the States, but so many people are learning about this. Like, there's
Mhm.
neuroscientists from Stanford doing studies, Texas A&M, UCLA. They're all doing these studies, but the problem is they can't study here in the States. So they have to go overseas to do it, or they go and do brain scan. They have the people who are going through the therapies go and do brain scans and whatnot here in America. Then they go to the therapy in Mexico. Then they come back 2 weeks later and do more brain scans and see what's been fixed. It's insane, man. So we get into that. We talk. It's very ceremonial. They try to like really keep it traditional to the African culture and how it was done, because it's a sacred medicine. It really is. Then you take the capsules. It's in capsule form. It's kilograms per milligram, so it's by your weight. So that's why they weigh you when you get there. So they give it to you. It's supposed to take about an hour to really kick in. So they give it to you. They do a whole like fire ceremony. You write down your intentions. You speak it out. Then you burn it. Like, it's really personal. Like, you're breaking down with like badass dudes, man. Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
And then they set you up. They bring you upstairs. They set you up in your bed. They put the IV in you. They put the heart rate monitor on you, and they get you ready for your journey. For me, of course, as soon as I took the pill and like I stood up, like 10 minutes later, I felt fire coursing through my veins, man. Like,
really?
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, it shouldn't have kicked in that quickly. And it did. It really did.
Wow.
I was didn't even get up the stairs, and I was screaming and throwing up, man. Like, so all the other guys who were like just chilling on the couch waiting a little bit to go up were like, they were scared. And a lot of it was my nerves and anxiety, because I didn't want to let go of control. I've never been under the influence other than like, at a hospital or whatnot where they administer anesthesia. It's different.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't let go of control. And that's the one thing that they were saying. You just got to let it do its thing. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. I fought that son of a bitch the whole ride, man. I fought it until I submissed, and like it just won. Like, I couldn't fight anymore. And it did its thing. I saw a lot of terrible stuff, a lot of trauma that I endured, both as a kid and then through my military service and all that. And I had to relive it all, and it was in different forms, and it was bad. My buddy, Austin, who was laying next to me, he was in another bed. His journey only took about 2 hours, and mine was, like I said, 12 or 15 hours. He's like, bro, I listened to you all night screaming. Can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's like, bro, you were screaming, fucking kill me, kill me, kill me. Like, I was trying to get out of it. Like, I just wanted to be out of it. He's like, you were throwing up. I was dodging your throw up all night because you're purging. You're like purging your traumas out. He's like, dude, you were speaking in tongue. You were screaming like, and I'm like, no way, dude. Like, this, we were talking like 2 days later. And I'm like, no way. You were probably just tripping. And then the nurse, Claire, there, she's like, no, bro, you were speaking in tongue the whole time. Like,
wow.
I'm like, whoa, that's really freaky, man. So I ultimately, it was terrible, man. I released everything I needed to release. And then I woke up, or got out of the medicine. It flowed out of you. It still works in your system for like 3 months. Like, it's,
wow.
Yeah. So this medicine, I know we're kind of going back and forth. I'm super excited about this, because it's something I never knew about and nobody told me about. So it helped me so much. So I'm excited. So this medicine, it fixes the neuroplasticity in your brain. It fixes the synapses of all the wiring up there. So if you have concussions and contusions up there, stuff is keeping the sharpness from working. And this medicine fixes the neuroplasticity. It resets your brain. Wow. They use this for addicts, like opiate addicts, drug addicts. So if you were like a 25-year drug addict and you go and do this medicine over the weekend, dude, you lose that addictiveness. You lose that will and want to have.
Wow.
So I wasn't an alcoholic at all. I like my whiskey. I have a really good whiskey collection. Dude, I can't touch it. I don't want to.
Really?
I tried a sip of my favorite whiskey like a month or so after, just because I was moving and I was leaving the house. I just wanted to have a sip of my whiskey. It tasted like straight poison, bro.
Really?
Straight poison.
Wow.
I used to drink like 4 cups of coffee a day. No need anymore. I still love coffee. I still make my coffee because it's therapeutic. I love the smell. It's just what I do, but I only need a cup of coffee. I don't crave it. I don't get headaches if I don't have it anymore. So it fixed stuff that I wasn't even looking to fix, and that's addictiveness. You know, nicotine would be the same. It's just incredible stuff. So it fixes your brain, man. It really does. It rewires you. It's brain surgery without instruments.
Wow.
So I don't know where I was. I got too excited and went off track a little bit. Sorry about that.
No worries. That's phenomenal though. That's man. Like, you know, a lot of you know, especially veterans or people who are, you know, first responders, like you said, addicts and people who struggle with that. That's, I don't know, it's just such a phenomenal thing. I've heard a little bit, but hearing your firsthand story is like, I'm literally like, I feel emotional. I'm like, holy shit. Like, because like, I don't know, we all, every person has someone in their family or close to them that either, you know, has not even mental health, but maybe injury, you know,
yeah, man,
injuries or addiction and things like that. And seeing that there is something out there that's not necessarily invasive in the way, like you said, surgery wise, or, you know, a therapy that's not just pushing, you know, drugs that change the state of who you are.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I think that's groundbreaking stuff. And I think
let's push that envelope a little bit, man. It's good for anyone, dude. Like rape victims, dude. You could erase that. They told us a story of a woman who was in the military. She was raped. And for like 20 years after service, she had nightmares every night. Terrible shit. She went through this therapy, and that morning when she was out of the medicine, when it wasn't so harsh, she was just crying. And they're like, why? What's wrong? Are you okay? Are you okay? And she's like, he's not on me anymore. Like, she doesn't picture him. Like, she remembers what happened, but it doesn't affect her that way. It's good for mothers who lose their children. Like, it's good for anybody who goes through trauma, man. Like, you don't need to be a veteran. You don't need to be a ER doctor or nurse who sees this trauma. It's good for anyone, man. It'll just level you up. And even if you have no traumas, you had no childhood traumas, like if you have something, whether it's like financial stress or whatnot, over the years, if you're stressing about finances, that weighs on you, man. That's in your brain, that's in your body somewhere. 100%. And for me, that was a big thing as well, and that came out. So so I felt so great the next morning. I just wanted to be outside. Man. Now, when I got out of that medicine, they're like, oh, we got to, you know, let the IV, the vitamin pack go through you, and then we'll walk you outside. And, you know, because you can't walk. You have, they call it baby giraffe syndrome. Like, you can't walk. You're like a baby giraffe with your legs. You're just.
Really?
Yeah. So there's like nurses like holding you up and carrying you. She's like, yeah, you got to wait. And I'm like, as soon as she turned around, I went on that IV dial and cranked it so it coursed through my body as quick as possible. And she just turned around and laughed at me. It's funny. But yeah, that morning I went outside and I looked at the ocean and the sun for like 18 hours straight. Never came inside. Like, I just was with nature. They had like, I was looking at like hummingbirds, dude. I was seeing the trees. It was just beautiful, man.
Wow. That's phenomenal. I think that's something that should be more vocalized, and I think it will be, hopefully, in the next years and stuff. More people do it, the more people benefit from it, hopefully, because that's, hearing your story again, it's like, whoa, like, that's insane. Man.
There's a lot of movement on it right now. So the program I went through in Mexico, they just had their main doctor in New York Times talking about it. Robert F. Kennedy, who's running for president, his like whole big push is making psychedelics for veterans legal, you know? And again, this isn't like a party drug or something you would take at your house or whatnot. Like, you're hooked up to a machine, you're hooked up to IV, you have nurses and doctors watching you. Like, it's serious stuff. So, but yeah, man, it definitely cleansed me and made me realize what's important in life. And like I said, I was doing the overseas contract and I had a trip to Iraq like 3 days later, and I just didn't want to go back to that bullshit, man. I just it wouldn't be conducive to healing. And so I talked to my wife, talked to my parents, and put in my 2 weeks notice at work, and we packed up our beautiful house I've been saving for my whole adult life in Maryland, outside of DC. And we moved my 2 dogs, my pregnant wife, and our 19-month-old son to my parents upstairs here in Connecticut. The house just sold, so thank God I don't have that financial burden anymore. And just figuring out, going full tilt on this company, trying to help spread the word, use my art to heal people, and just waiting for something to give so we could get our own place and move forward.
You're doing all the right stuff, and you're sharing your personal story. You're going above and beyond as well, and you're also, what I've noticed is you're giving back. I know that a lot of the boards work with, I think it's called the Mission Within, which is an organization. If you could talk more on that.
Yeah. So the Mission Within is the therapy organization I went through in Mexico. There's a bunch of different organizations. That's the one that I went through.
Okay.
So I am so a portion of the profits from the boards I'm saving up and donating to certain organizations that I align with, certain organizations that need support, need some help. Everything from the Mission Within to MWTSA, which is a military working dog facility that works with transitioning of military working dogs. They're a nonprofit. And just really using my art to, be an outlet, spread. I'm looking to collaborate with nonprofits that I align with, or any organization, man. I was reached out to by One Last Wave. They're a veteran organization that uses surfboarding as therapy, for vets and stuff. Amputees, like all these people.
Wow.
And it's just, and that's the thing with skateboarding and surfing, board sports in general, and why I chose skateboards as my canvas, because board sports, when you're doing it, you're in the moment. You don't think about anything else. You don't think about taxes or relationships. You're with nature in the moment, just doing it. So it is an outlet. So it kind of ties into that.
100%, man. I'm blown away by your artwork and your
thank you.
And your discipline, and like the fact that you're giving back. This isn't like you trying to, there's no vanity in it. You're spreading your honest art, how you heal, how you express yourself, and then you're giving back to those who have helped you. You know what I mean? And the organizations that can help others,
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate that. It's I'm definitely not paying the bills yet. I'm brand new. I went through this therapy November 3rd, 2023, and then I started the idea of doing artwork on boards like maybe a week later, so November 15th. So we're just about 4 months into, so I'm really at the ground, really pushing hard, and I've been having a lot of support, a lot of people reposting and sharing, a lot of people liking my stuff, and getting great advice. So it's good, and you know how it is, and with our mastermind group we're in, that veteran one together, we're getting a lot of good stuff. So I wish I had this already, because it would make things easier. But man. Things are good.
100%. Let's give them a shout out, because I know we're trying to build the master class and what they're doing, which is phenomenal. I mean, so it's the Clark Initiative Masterclass. It's an entrepreneurial and business program for veterans, and it's not like a typical college style. They work with you. They teach you. They work with you, tailored to each individual in the masterclass, and we network. And that's how I met you, Tim. It's phenomenal. I literally met it through, I got involved through Jake, which is, it's phenomenal. So
super cool. I found out about it like the night before it started. Another guy, Steve Viola, who's a retired SEAL and way up there, man, with the medical stuff. He told me about it, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds awesome. When's it starting? He's like, tomorrow, fill this out. And I'm like, oh man. But the Clark Initiative, it's great. The founder is Chris Warnes. He's a local Connecticut guy as well, Purple Heart recipient, and it's all in honor of his buddy Clark, who died and was killed in action, and he's really trying to give back. It's no cost to us, the veterans, which is incredible. He's really, him and the whole team, Jake, Patrick, Paul, everyone, they're really trying to help veterans with transition, help them start a business. Chris has MBAs and all that, and he went through all the college stuff, but he's teaching us the real deal stuff, like the real lessons that he's learned and had to overcome, so we don't have to go through that. So it's pretty amazing stuff.
100%. Definitely.
And I think their website's forclark.org.
Yes, so. Yes. And I can always link it in the description of the YouTube video as well. So if there's any veterans, I think there's everybody across the country. I think there's some, I'm still in, but I think there's some folks still in as well. Yeah. So it's not just like once you get out, but it's really to help veteran service members and things like that. Yeah. It's been beneficial for me, as well. So,
and he does other masterminds for people who aren't veterans. They got a lot going on. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So I always ask my guests, before the last question, what is one thing that you would tell yourself or someone in similar shoes that could impact them on their journey? If it's similar with art, or they're maybe getting out and struggling with similar things that you struggled with.
So my biggest hurdle in life before I would join the military, in the military, getting out, trying to figure out who I am and what I'm going to do, my biggest hurdle was being true to myself. I always wore that mask with a certain group of friends, try to act like this. And then with family, I would act like this. So, I was never really truly myself. I was always, I spared family from problems I was having. I didn't tell friends stuff I had going on. So that really weighed down on me, and that weighs down on humans more than a lot of people do it. So my biggest advice is to do whatever you possibly can to feel free and be yourself and be genuine 100% of the time. It is so freeing. I saw a friend yesterday that I graduated high school with. I haven't seen her since 2007. And she's like, and we saw each other at the park. Our kids were at the park, and she's like, "How have you been? You look so happy now." I read your post and see you on Instagram, and now I see you, years later, you look so happy. And I'm like, I'm so happy. And part of that was releasing those masks and just pushing them to the side and just being myself. And it's hard. It's hard, man. It's easier said than done. The medicine definitely helped me release all that, but there are other ways, just getting out in nature, yoga, breathing exercises, just getting rid of the bullshit, man. It's freeing. So that's my one piece of advice that I wish I knew years ago and actually executed on and did it.
100%. Yeah. In life, we're pulled in all different directions, whether it's family, friends, work, maybe church, whatever it is that the organizations and the personal relationships you have are always pulled and expected to be for those others, but you have to be for yourself and be your true self. And if people don't want to be around you, or they were never your friends to begin with, that cliche saying, and you have to be yourself.
And I totally wasn't planning this. I'm wearing a shirt, ego. You got to release that ego, man. Let it just burn away. My buddy,
100%.
My buddy Chad, he's also a vet, and he's got a psychedelic themed apparel company.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's just to start conversations. Oh, what's that mean? And so, but just release that ego and be yourself. You'll be so much better off, man.
100%. That's the truth. Yeah. So Tim, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a phenomenal. You're probably one of the top guests of just a lot of guests. I don't even know. It's just you were very open about your journey and what Berserker means to you.
Man.
And sharing your story. So thank you for coming on.
I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled for what you have going on. This is super cool. I love your whole aesthetic too. I love.
Thank you.
And your apparel company is pretty awesome too.
Thank you.
The nerdy gym wear.
Yes, sir.
That's
yes,
so
sir.
Cool. Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate
we'll have to collab soon or something.
Hell yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'll reach out with you. I got some new designs in the works and stuff. I'm still playing around with it, but I'll send you some and maybe get a board for the cave and set up some LEDs and a display right above,
I love it, dude. That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah.
Cool, dude.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. To the viewers, thank you guys for listening. This has been the Absolutely Cosmic Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Salgado. This has been our guest, Tim DeMeo. If you're interested in joining a worldwide community of individuals becoming their best versions of themselves, click down below. We have a Discord server. We're trying to build a community where you can reach out to us as well as build a network. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Tim, for coming on.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you again.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for listening. consider absolutely smashing the subscribe button for more content like this.